This episode of the InForm Fitness Podcast is brought to you by Thrive Market. Thrive Market is on a mission to make healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. To receive a special discount code for 15% off of your first order, email Tim at inboundpodcasting.com. Hey, Information, thanks for joining us here once again on the InForm Fitness Podcast. 20 minutes with New York Times bestselling author Adam Zickerman and friends. It's brought to you by InForm Fitness and ThriveMarket.com. My name is Tim Edwards of the Inbound Podcasting Network, and joining the show, as always, is Sheila Melody, Mike Rogers, and the founder of InForm Fitness, Adam Zickerman. Hey, team.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
This accent.
That's going to be a running theme with every show. We'll begin with the English accent. Well, here in this podcast, we discuss high-intensity, slow-motion strength training system that's so effective you'll get a week's worth of exercise in just one 20 to 30-minute session, which is about the length of each of these podcast episodes. Now, in this episode, team, we want to share some of the wisdom that all of you have accrued over the many years and just talk about what it's like in the life of a personal trainer at InForm Fitness. This is a very non-conventional type of workout for some. And so I want to learn from you how things have changed over the last 20 years or so, Adam, when you began this revolution.
When I thought about what we were going to talk about for this episode, it was because I was asked a question not too long ago by one of my mentors, who I've known for a long time. And he said to me, "So Adam, now you're doing this almost 20 years. What's the biggest surprise? If you remember how you thought about all this 20 years ago and now, and where you are now, and where the state of the industry is now, what's the biggest surprise?" What surprises me the most is something that appeared so logical and so kind of like an epiphany, an aha type of moment 20 years ago for me. I'm a little surprised, quite honestly, that it hasn't been an aha moment for the whole society.
Well, you mentioned in previous episodes with Doug McGuff, it's like, why isn't everybody talking about this?
Well, I think that episode we were talking specifically about the anti-aging properties of yeah. Well, yeah, when that news came out, when that research came out, just one more thing that you think that's going to be the tipping point. That is what's going to get people to say, hey, but it wasn't.
You know, Adam, like you talk about, like you're surprised that nobody, or like it hasn't become like a wave of like an epiphany for everybody, as it has been for you or me or all of us who've been doing this and who teach it. I actually think I have the answer. I think it is. I think everybody wants results now in a day. I think the reality is, for almost all things that are worthwhile, it just takes time to do it, no matter what you're trying to do. I mean, whenever anyone tries any new exercise regimen, they usually feel the initial gains of whatever they do: a new Pilates class, a new Bikram yoga class, a new slow weight training, and their body feels like a new thing. And I think they get wrapped up into it. Anyways, that's what I think. I think people just aren't patient enough to let something like this settle in, and that's the reason why.
I remember when we used to drive these gas guzzling cars back in the 70s during the gas crisis. Carter, I'm aging myself a little bit. I was a kid sitting out in a big car that my parents
waiting in those long lines to get gas. Remember?
Gas line. Remember that?
I do.
Yeah, I was a kid.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you. It was right before your time. Anyway, I just remember the expression being coined from that period is that every time our car passes a gas station, it burps. So it has that desire. It just guzzles gas like crazy. And I remember I apply that same type of joke, if you will, to genetically gifted individuals. Every time they walk past a dumbbell, they get bigger. You know?
I hate those people. I really do.
I hate those. They don't need to do much, you know. And
I can see that is discouraging, encouraging, and discouraging for people. You know, I think about it. I mean, there's some people, they're like, how come she looks so good? Da, 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 you know, and like they wonder, like I saw this girl at the gym. She has this incredible body, and I'm like, she's running on the treadmill. I'm like, well, did she look that way before she was on the treadmill? I mean,
yeah, it's hard to get people to understand that the reasons why you want to do this, not just to have this perfect body too. There's so many other good reasons, and I'm constantly trying to remind people of those. Just your overall health and wellness, and it's like what Adam has often, said. It's like brushing your teeth. Are you gonna stop brushing your teeth because you don't see, immediate results or whatever? You're just gonna continue to brush your teeth, right?
Honestly, I think a lot of people, though, when it comes to fitness, I think they do give up quickly. I think if they haven't, you lose weight. Maybe how people, they do a new thing like whatever, like this or running or something, and they lose. And they become very disciplined with their nutrition for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden they fall off. And next thing you know, it's just everybody has like 2 weeks of motivation, and then sort of fall off, or they are there to stick with it, and they're unfortunately, we sell packages in like 6, 12, 24. So people, and they're invested in what they're doing, and then they have to show up for their appointments. So I think why a lot of people, after they start our program, they stay with our program, whether they've lost weight or not. They realize that they definitely have gotten stronger over the course of 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And I think that's one of the reasons why people do stick with us after they've come through our door.
So, Mike, you're saying that you think it's the lack of instant gratification is why this isn't being screamed from the rooftops, or wasn't when Adam first came upon this revolution.
Goals people come in here with various goals all the time. And I mean, the most popular one is I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. And that is something that, we are superstars at getting people to be stronger, at getting them to reduce their chronic pain, to increase their bone density over time, and a lot of different things. The list goes on and on. But with things like fat loss, which is a number one priority for a lot of people who walk into any sort of fitness facility. That doesn't come without really having some compliance towards changing the nutrition. And we sometimes, I think we're very good at encouraging and motivating and helping and counseling in that department. But it's we're not with you. We're not with them 7 days a week. You know?
I'm a testament to that, Mike, because I began this workout at the time of this recording about 50 weeks ago. I'm almost at my 1 year point. And isn't that cool? And then it took me several months to finally adhere to pillar number 2 in Adam's book, Power of 10, which is nutrition. I really got serious about my nutrition a few months ago, really. And because of the nutrition combined with what I've done in the gym at the Toluca Lake location, I'm now down 18 pounds. Because I've lost a lot of weight here in the last few months because I finally started to combine those two, getting my exercise in line solely with what I'm doing at InForm Fitness, and then clean eating and following Adam's protocol inside his book. So, like you said, you're not with him 24 hours a day, but if somebody just applies just a few minor changes, just eat clean, you will see those results. And it's been pretty dramatic.
Just yesterday, I had 2 clients out of nowhere, without any solicitation, actually tell me. One of them is 61 years old, just turned 61. The other one, they're both male. The other one is 53. And they both told me that they've never been stronger in their entire lives. Lives,
Amazing.
Okay? Both of them, have some fat to lose. They don't have perfect bodies at all. But they told me one of them, golf is a priority in his life. The other one just wants to really feel strong and youthful. And both of them do, and that was one of those moments where I was thinking, the gratification of being a trainer is going back to why what we're talking about today. What makes me excited about my job, is to hear that type of thing. They weren't worried about, they both want to lose a few pounds, but they were so excited about how strong they were and comparing themselves at their 61 and 53 years to any time in their life. Either one of them was comparing it to the time when he played baseball in college. I said, I feel stronger than I did then. Wow. We talked about, sometimes you don't, those little if you twist your elbow or something like that, and when you're 21, that goes away in a day, and now it lingers a little bit.
And this is what I'm surprised about. We hear stories like this day in, day out. It's been covered in the press, and still, it's not accepted. Still, it's still people like, what is that technique you do? I mean, still only like, I don't know. I don't know what the statistics are, but I bet it's like 1 out of 100 people, if not 1 out of 1,000 people, really know about this high intensity training thing. And forget about the high intensity training thing. 1 out of 1,000 or some minority of people even understand how profoundly important it is to build and maintain muscle mass outside of just how good you may look. So when we hear 61, 71-year-old people saying, I've never felt stronger and more functional in my life, you'd think after 20 years of having people say that and feel that way, for such little time invested, by the way, you'd think like everyone else would be going out of business.
Well, there's no doubt that this podcast will certainly help spread the word.
Well, that's why we're doing it.
I think part of it, to me, it's like the people who get the older people, not older, but, maybe middle-aged, older, when they really start to think, oh, I got to start doing something, right? And then they come in and this is a doable, exercise for them, even though it's tough, it's the time management is important to them. But I also think that as you get older, you have more endurance as far as like sticking to something. I just really feel that, people who are younger, they're just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this. And then I don't really have to do this. But I think as you get older, you're just like more inclined to just stick to something, and you have more endurance. And you, like Adam was talking about earlier, in a few podcasts ago, about how women work out harder or something. It's just like you really have that endurance to give it your all, that 20 minutes, and you consistently come in every week. Whereas when you're younger, you're kind of like, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why, but what you're alluding to, I think, is I just think older people are just smarter. They've been there, done that, and they've made the mistakes, and now they understand things a bit better. Young people, they don't realize how resilient they are and the risks that they're taking in the exercise programs that they choose. They're infallible, right?
The wisdom comes with experience.
And wisdom comes with getting hurt, unfortunately. A lot of times, wisdom comes from, not seeing the results, but and they don't see the ramifications necessarily of what they're doing until later on when it's too late. You don't realize how bad getting sunburned all the time is when you're 18 years old. It's when you're 48 years old, you realize, oh shit, I shouldn't have stayed in the sun so long. Mm-hmm. So, as I don't know who said this, maybe you can help me, but youth is wasted on the young.
Yes. It's in the movie It's a Wonderful Life.
Right.
Was it Mark Twain that said? I don't know, but
maybe.
But whoever said it, genius.
Yeah.
It's so true. Mike makes a good point about this idea that people are looking for instant gratification. They don't see the results right away. And it's not just necessarily even fat loss. That's a big part of it. That's actually an easier kind of pivot, if you will, because then you can really blame the nutrition part on it and don't even put the exercise even as responsible for that at all. So it's not even what you're doing here almost has nothing to do with your weight loss. Other things that I'm trying to figure out why this hasn't become like this national sensation and all the other gyms and treadmills companies are going out of business. People are not turning into fitness models and these buff specimens, not just because they're not losing the body weight, just because their muscles are not going to get beautiful and big and structured and cut the way we see on the magazines or the athletes. And again, just because that doesn't happen to you doesn't mean something's not happening. Mm-hmm. Something really good isn't happening, as a matter of fact. But you're just not going to look ever like that guy or girl on the magazine cover, with or without Photoshop.
I think it'd be interesting to go around the room and ask the three trainers here. We're looking for motivation, right? So Mike, you mentioned that, and I think I have to agree with you. I think the fact that the results aren't instant is maybe that's why people aren't screaming it from the rooftops. Like if someone were to jump on an Atkins diet, or say, for example, and all of a sudden they stay away from carbs completely and lose a lot of weight quickly. What do you use for motivation? How do you motivate your clients? I'm sure there are different methods of motivation to keep people stay on course if the results take 6 to 8 weeks.
It's
Whips.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, first of all, with the people that come in our door, everyone's motivated by the fact that this workout only takes like 20 minutes. All right, that's one thing, and I think that's one thing that they want to.
If that's not motivation enough, get the hell out of here.
It kind of is, and the thing is, that's the motivation that gets them through doing something that's hard, that's really, really hard. And it lets them know that, hey, they can get back to what they have to do in their own life and stuff. With anything that you're successful at life, what's the process? Do you just sort of wing it, or do you actually, like if you're trying to, say, for example, if you're trying to lose fat, you have to think about what your plan is. You have to write it down at first. You have to get into a routine. You might need some accountability and some help from some friends or me as the trainer or someone to sort of help keep you in line. And usually it requires a lot of, I don't want to use the word obsession, but you have to be highly focused on what you're doing at first, and then eventually it becomes something that you can probably not be as regimented with as over time. Where you don't have to write it down and stuff like that. So the idea of going to muscle failure, it might happen in 75 seconds or 2 minutes and 17 seconds or 3 minutes. We don't want it to be too long, but the thing is, when it's nebulous, it's very difficult for some people. And sometimes I'll have to say, hey, something, give me 4 reps. Make that a clear, I want you to still get 10 seconds up, 10 seconds down. But, last time you did it for 1 minute and 35 seconds, and I'm going to raise it 10 pounds. And that should get me a time that's going to be, what we want in order to show some progress for the client. So that's a little bit specific to performance, to when I'm motivating someone when I want them to perform better on the machine.
So have a plan, and then you verbally walk them through their time on the machines.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting what he just said, because it is a very specific example of motivating, because it's a very small population of people that need to have that carrot, or that they need to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Sometimes you have to say, some target, as opposed to just some random failure rate, which is in some range. I mean, just going to failure is not enough for them, because how long is this going to last? I need to know how many more reps I have, and no matter how many times you say it doesn't matter, that just go to failure, just go until you can't go anymore. Some people are not motivated by that, or they're not inspired to do that. So like Mike said, all right, so Mike's an experienced trainer, so he knows to set a weight at a certain weight. So he knows that if they can get 4 reps out, they're pretty much where they need to be failure-wise. So you'd say, just give me 4 perfect reps. Now, if you set the right weight correctly, they're going to reach failure in 4 perfect reps. So Mike got what he wanted, and the client got what they wanted. And that's a motivation technique to get them to perform to a level that's very uncomfortable and very challenging. A lot of people have mental problems getting there. Mm-hmm. And that's so even though that's a very specific example, in the more general sense, what Mike's talking about is different techniques of motivating people to get to the goal. What do certain clients need? And when if you're training yourself, by the way, ask yourself, what's going to motivate me to work to this level of discomfort? Do I need to have a stopwatch around my neck and just have a certain time? Is it a certain number of reps? That kind of thing. Whatever it takes to allow you to get to that level of failure is what you should be trying to do.
As in our environment, as far as the clients are concerned, I think we are very personal with our clients. In general, when we're working with clients, the nature of our sessions, it's one-on-one. It's a quiet environment without music. There's no mirrors. We're giving directions that are very, very clear, verbal instructions. Sometimes we have to demonstrate, but for the most part, I think the client is motivated by this unique experience, which is unlike most personal training experiences that people have if they even work with another personal trainer at a gym. And maybe that was a good experience, but this is a unique experience. And I think that in itself is something that really gets people. I think people are drawn to this environment when they're here. Mm-hmm. It's different, and they realize that it's not the distractions are not. They're not there. They don't want to be distracted. They want to be focused. They want to get their workout in, and they want to leave. They want to go back to whatever's going on in their own life.
Well, I agree with that personal aspect of it. As somebody who's experienced this for now close to a year, and I've had Sheila as my trainer, who's terrific, and my latest trainer is Joe over in Toluca Lake. And Joe knows me personally, and he knows what motivates me, and I love playing softball. So as I'm getting close to failure, he's like, we're stretching those singles and the doubles. Now the doubles and the triples, and the triples into home runs. And you almost hit it out last week. You're going to hit it out this week. And he really knows what buttons to push with me. The more he gets to learn about my family and my activities, and I really enjoy that relationship with my trainer because he's able to say what I want to hear to get me to failure.
Yeah, you just have to.
It's funny. I have clients who, for whatever reason, you just reminded me. I have a client who, when he's working out, he yells at himself. He calls himself the king.
Oh my God!
Because you're the king. You're the king. And so what I do sometimes, I mean, I can't help it, but sometimes it does. I go, you're the prime minister. You're el presidente. Whatever.
It's not Donald Trump, is it?
It's really funny because he's actually did not vote for Donald Trump, but it's very interesting how
Sheila was asking if the guy saying "I'm the king" is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
If your client is Donald Trump.
You're not too far from Trump Tower there.
Although he actually voted.
He voted
right
on our block
next door to us yesterday.
Yeah.
He did.
Right. Yeah.
He needs InForm Fitness. He's out of shape.
He needs InForm Fitness. He needs a clue.
Well,
Preach.
Yeah, I like having that. We all have that personal relationship, and I was going to say the same thing. It's like how you get to know your client, you get to know what's going on in their life, and you kind of have to psychologically, just say, hey, you're gonna feel so much better when you get out of here. And I do that too. What Mike was saying, just give me 2 more, and just try to guide them and coach them through to get to that muscle failure, to get their dose. The clients end up wanting to come in for that. You know what I mean? They come in even though they're not feeling that well, or they're not feeling that motivated, and they expect us to do that. That's why they come in. Well,
and I imagine, too, the motivation is different for each client. Sheila, like I mentioned earlier, that when I first started InForm Fitness, you were my trainer, and you have a very calming approach. You'll put your hand on the shoulder and go, all right. You're almost there, and so some people might need to be screamed at or screaming that they're the king or the prince, depending upon their performance.
I mean, that's a
tell me I'm wrong.
That's a joke, but to be honest, that's an outlying type of situation. But for honestly, most situations you can talk just like this when you're getting.
Yes.
And I think when you tap them on their shoulder gently and you let them know they have to while they're going through their repetition that they need to bring their elbow down a little bit. They're feeling that motivation. They're feeling that connection because you're attentive to everything that's going on in that moment.
Absolutely.
Give me 10 reps. It's a bunch of different things, and it doesn't require screaming. And I feel like they're dealing with a very intense situation when they're breathing heavily and getting to that last rep. It still doesn't require. And I think communicating like this while they're in that state keeps them as Adam
focused.
Focused and stoic, and being able to actually perform the
calms them down so that they can.
Just having this, we were literally, Mike and I were just having this conversation with a client not too long ago. One of my mentors told me, the same mentor, by the way, who asked me the question about what surprises me in the last 20 years. He said to me a long time ago, he said, a trainer that has to raise their voice above a whisper is not a very good trainer.
Interesting.
I like that. I think in this situation, as someone who goes through your exercise, I prefer that approach, not being screamed at and motivated. Although one time, Adam, you did say to me, but you whispered it. You said, when Adam trained me, you said, if you don't finish this rep, I'm going to call your son and tell him what a wimp you are. But he didn't say the word wimp. He said something else.
But I whispered it, didn't I?
You did whisper it. He was.
Well, there's a motivation technique for you, shaming.
That's right.
But going, I just want to finish a thought that I had about this whispering thing. When somebody is in the throes of the last rep and they're really getting deep into intensity, I think it seems logical to start raising your voice and say, come on, and start raising the energy because their energy is like being expended so much. And I actually take the opposite tack very often. just when they are like almost in a panic mode, that's when I say to them very quietly, all right, calm down. Breathe, calm down, relax.
Just finish.
Which is really ironic, and they want to punch me because
Right.
they are reaching muscle failure in a leg press, and I'm telling them to relax. They're like, "You fucking relax." I'm in the leg press for crying out loud.
It's oftentimes a moment when shoulders
But it works.
and hyperextension of the neck and the shoulders come up and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and where you have an opportunity to say, okay, hold it right there. Try to drop your shoulders right now. Hold it. Give me 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. That's like
That's when they hate you.
No.
When they get mad at you, you're doing your job well.
Well, but on the opposite of that, I like it when it's calm, and I need that moment. My breathing starts to change a little bit, and I do everything I can just to finish that rep, and I know that I've hit failure. I like that calm approach. If there was yelling, it would distract me.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're more focused and they're able to retain a correction that you're giving them in that type of voice, and it's not maybe, I know it. I've been doing many years, and going back to the big topic about motivation, I think that's under the umbrella of motivation is that style of talking to people while they're going through a relatively intense and stressful thing it's a short amount of time. We know it's a worthwhile stimulus, but it's stressful and
So for those of you listening to this that don't have a trainer, especially a trainer that is steeped in high intensity training, and you want to do this, what's the takeaway for you? I think it would be do this as a relaxed environment as possible. Don't stress out about things. And in my book, I do a Q&A in my book, and one of the questions in my Q&A is, which is the most important rep of the set? And a lot of people, guess, the first one, or a lot of people guess really the last one is the most important set of the rep. And of course, it's a trick question, really, because my answer is the one you're doing. It's kind of like a Zen-like approach to the whole thing. Be in the moment, and not. So, and the whole workout should be approached that way. Don't be thinking about what you did last week, how well you're doing now. Just do it. Just be in the moment. Do the workout efficiently, calmly, work out hard, move on. If you have that approach, you're not going to dread, put those thoughts of dreading the upcoming workout. I didn't do as well as I did last week. You got to kind of meditate that stuff out of your head. Let those demons out and just be in the moment and do your job. And that's probably the best advice I can give, because I have the demons in my head too. I say, shit, I got to work out now. And I have all the thoughts of the pain, creep in, and I'm like, block it out. Do it. You got to do it. It's once a week, 20 minutes. There was a client that used to walk in. He had a mantra. There was a Mike's client. He used to walk in the door of the gym, and he'd look around and he'd say, I can do anything for 20 minutes. Let's go.
Love it. I love it.
He did
like
it
it.
every
single day. It was a mantra,
All right, I can do anything for 20 minutes. Let's get it over with.
And we all have our ways of calming ourselves down. Some people might want to meditate. I have a client actually that goes into an empty room in our office. She can. And she'll meditate for 15, 20 minutes until the workout's ready to start.
Oh my gosh.
So what's the common thread here? I mean, relax. Be in the moment.
And then you do get better at just handling that intensity. You do get better at it. You just get, okay, I can handle this, and you can handle it. And then the next time it's, the more you do it, the more you're like, okay, I can do this. And then you try a little harder. And some days, you might have an off day here or there, but overall, it'll just keep going forward if you just stick to it.
All right, so we're getting a little short on time. I definitely want to ask all three of you, if you would just remind our audience how long each of you has been a trainer, and how have you changed from the time you began as a trainer with the Power of 10 and how you are now. What have you learned and how have you changed? And this time we'll start with Guru. How about you, Adam?
How have I changed as a trainer? Let me count the ways. The thing that pops in my head the most, because I started 20 years ago, and 20 years ago when I started this, I had just finished reading Ken Hutchins' Super Slow Manual, and I had been talking to some of his devotees about it, some of the original devotees, and what an intense bunch. And it was either do it this way or you're an idiot. Do this workout like this because everybody else is a fraud out there. And, and they basically made me feel like, well, not made me feel, I picked up on it, to be honest with you. I bought into it. And at the beginning of my career, I was a little bit of a jerk. I think I was
like a born again. This way, if you don't do it this way, you're an asshole.
You're wrong, right? Yeah.
I certainly did it a little bit more diplomatically than that, but basically that was my message. And the thing is, as diplomatic as I was, I turned people off. I turned a lot of people off, and well, that's not. I mean, if I'm going to try to influence people and educate people, I can't be that way. Mm-hmm. And as time went on, I'm much more open and accepting of all kinds of ideas and views, and I might not still agree with a lot of modalities of exercise out there, certainly for the purposes that they purport these modalities are for. But I understand a lot more about why. We talked our other podcast about intense workouts versus moderate exercise and the virtue of both, the value of both. And when I used to, I used to throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. If it's not a high intensity training, it's not worth doing. And I don't really feel that way anymore. And I certainly don't portray that with my clients anymore.
Sheila, how about you?
Well, I got certified in 2010, so it's been about 6 years for me. So I'm still consider myself a newbie, to tell you the truth.
She was never a jerk.
No, because I can't be.
I don't think she has it in her, to be honest with you.
But I could say that how I've changed, because in the beginning, I think I was a little more maybe empathetic with people. And, as I've been doing this workout now for about 10 or 11 years myself, I have grown in how my experience of doing the workout. So that has affected the way that I train clients. And just being around like our trainer here, Anne, who is a very experienced trainer. She's been a trainer for like 14 years. So bringing her on board and having her, open this place with me and seeing how she wasn't afraid to put the weight up. You know what I mean? I used to be a little more like gentle with people, I guess. I wouldn't like just, okay, let's add 40 pounds here. I'd be like, oh no, you can't. And I'm much more confident in challenging people a little more.
You were a little bit more detached in a good way, I think.
Yeah, it's like I know that people, and then John has said this too a lot with his clients. He's like, because he has a love-hate relationship with several of his clients. Although they love him, they're like, he makes me do this. And he's like, because I know you can do it. I know your body can do. I know you can do it. And so you kind of have to be that way. And I've gotten much more that way with, not feeling like, because people will be the first time they try this, especially women, I guess, because they're not used to lifting really heavy weights. They'll be like, oh, this is too heavy, and I'll be like, nope, keep going. I used to like say, okay, let me change this weight a little bit to start. And then no, now I go, nope, keep going. Tell me after 3 reps, if it's too, after 3 reps, you're still going. Guess what? You just did like over 2 minutes on that. It's not too heavy for you. So giving them that experience of it has been a way that I've developed, into a better trainer, I think.
Yeah. So in other words, you're just not as empathetic anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing. I mean, like doctors have to be that way. Doctors, when they give injections or they do a procedure that hurts, they have to be, they have to do it with authority. They have to just do it, and they can't go, oh, I'm sorry.
Right. Same applies, sure.
Yeah, you got to do it, and that's part of being a professional. So, Mike, on to you.
I have been here for 14 years. And it's been the best job of my entire life. I've done a lot of different things before then. So, but when I first learned about this technique and I wanted to become a trainer. I was just blown away by everything about it. The intensity of it is just, I've always been attracted to intense things. But I was amazed at how, I had a shoulder
His
injury.
favorite band is the Ramones, by the way.
Good choice.
One of them. But yes. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. But something. The thing that I've, when you become a trainer in the beginning, the science is thrown at you, and you're really, really drawn into it, and it makes a lot of sense, and you want to teach it, and you want to get better at it, and but I got to tell you, it's interesting. You see new trainers now after I've been doing this long, and I think about how I was way back then, and it's amazing. The science is the science. But there's an art form to training people and getting to really know them as people, the psychology of how to motivate. But you know what I think I'm most proud of, which just comes with experience, and anybody who's been doing this a long time and cares about their clients. When you deal with a person who comes in with a rotator cuff tear or a herniated cervical disc or a torn meniscus or something like that, I'm really, really proud of how I've been able to help people with special medical problems and still be able to get them to train very, very hard and help them with their rehabilitation, work with their orthopedist or their physical therapists and stuff. And it's interesting because that's just something that even though a person could get certified and they can become a trainer tomorrow and they could be great, things like that just take time and to really have intuitive answers and or directions to give to people when you're training them. And I'm very happy to have had that experience and to know that if someone comes in the door that they're going to be taken care of by me, and if there's an inexperienced trainer, I can help them understand a little bit more about things like that as well.
Well, you can tell by listening to Mike and Sheila, and Adam hires the best when it comes to who he's going to trust with Power of 10 and the InForm Fitness locations. In closing, Adam, we've been talking about how the three of you have changed over the last 18 to 20 years or so as trainers, what the industry's perception is of this type of workout over the last almost 2 decades. I'd like to know what you think the perception is of those of us who are coming to an InForm Fitness to work out, how that might have changed over the last 20 years, and where would you like to see this go?
Well, I think this might be wishful thinking. And but I really think our vision is starting to come true, where people are realizing that less is more. Intensity is the king, and the real stimulus for fitness, and balancing that intensity with rest and recovery. I would have to say more people now are realizing that and are not taking up these long endurance type of activities. Instead, they are saving time, saving their knees, and starting to accept this idea that, maybe I can have quality over quantity. And that's, whether it's my competition perpetuating these new ideas or us, all boats rise with a rising tide. And I'm surprised it didn't happen fast enough, but maybe the second half, the last quarter, we might see some kind of tipping point occur and save a lot of people, quite honestly. So I'm hopeful, and my fingers are crossed. And this podcast, with any luck, could help with that.
Hey, why don't you give the workout a try for yourself, just like I did about a year ago? Visit InFormFitness.com for a list of locations across the U.S. If you don't happen to live near one of the locations, jump on over to Amazon and pick up Adam's book, Power of 10, the once-a-week slow-motion fitness revolution. Inside, you'll find some easy-to-follow instructions to perform this workout at just about any gym or even at home. And back here in the podcast, Adam, Mike, and Sheila can answer a question or respond to a comment you might have regarding the Power of 10. Just shoot us an email or record a voice memo on your phone and send it to podcast@informfitness.com. You can also give us a call at 888-983-5020, extension 3 to leave your comment or question. You might even have a suggestion on some topics we should cover here on the show, or might have a guest in mind you'd like for us to interview. All feedback is welcome. Thanks again for joining us here at the InForm Fitness Podcast. For Adam, Mike, and Sheila, I'm Tim Edwards with the Inbound Podcasting Network.